All right, so Tuesday, couple things. One, so we switched from completely doing in a bulk operation to going back to manually, okay? And this a couple things, right? First, I want to say the LLMs that we all use are stupid, okay? They are not actually as smart as we think, okay? If you look at Cloud, which now it has become an open source project, okay, thanks to somebody, it's just a bunch of prompts, okay, bundled together with some guidelines. It doesn't know how to think, okay? It cannot process information in a way that is considered intelligent. It's kind of weird to say this, but it is true. Okay, you can't just throw a bunch of stuff to the LMs and expect to have the greatest results. Okay, unless you have like millions of data. Okay, which we don't have millions of data. We haven't made a million videos, so I don't have that kind of data or that type of money to just burn through trial and error. So we have to go back to doing each video manually, which we see much better results. And I do want to just say, keep in mind, right? Us going back to manual doing each video, it's basically like 10% of like manual work when it comes to productions. And whether we do it in bulk or manually, there's no other entity on the planet that can produce what we produce. So there's really no like competition. We're trying to like have like a one up, right? It's just us trying to push the limits every single day and try to make this entire system better and just finding better ways that we can produce as that can do really good numbers. Okay, so us going back to manually doing each video, one is there are a couple things that we just wasn't able to control. For example, each video is going to have 7 to 8 scenes. Okay, now when we do it in bulk, okay, there is going to be a big amount of times where some of the scenes that comes out is just not going to be as good. Okay, and we have to redo them. And when we redo them, most of the time we have to do all of it redo. So that costs a lot of API credit, especially when it comes to the videos. Okay, so going back, we added some steps where doing it manually, it doesn't really feel like you're doing a lot of manual work, but it's more of a selections and the creative aspects and the confirming, okay, which is confirming manually, just having somebody to look at all the images that has been prompted out and all the script has been prompted out correctly, that when you put everything together, it makes sense. Okay, and that is very important. If all of it makes sense in the first production stage, which is the scripts and the images for each scene, that is very important because when those are correct, 90% of the time it's going to come out really well when it comes to the videos. Okay, and also we see sometimes like maybe like 5% of the times the AI just start hallucinate. Okay, meaning that it just start talking like gibberish, and the video comes out, it's just completely like different of what we expected or what we asked them to do. And to avoid that percentage, because you're gonna understand, like we do this in a large, like we're making like 3,000, 4,000, and maybe like next month we're gonna be doing 1 million videos a day, right? So those percentages seem small, but those are operation costs. We have to cut them. I have to make sure that we can consistently cut these numbers down to as little as possible, right? Because if we can cut that down, then we can cut the operation down, right? Again, I want to say this very clearly. There's no competition. I'm not like competing with anybody's like this stuff. There's no competition to do this. It's just me trying to push the limits of everything that we do. Okay. And that's what I enjoy to do. It's just pushing the limits. Okay. So that is one thing. And we found a way to really limit that quote unquote error, which is instead of doing every single one of the scenes from fresh, we want to do it from a template, which is that we spend time to do each of these templates. I'll give you like an example, right? Let's say podcast interviews, right? So we will spend time to really professionalize that template. And later on, we can have a group of templates to use in the library. Before we had that as well, but it was more of a reference, right? Reference as in like there's like 5, 6 video of this format. I want you to like build it like that. Now it's like I want it like this way, exactly like this. So the margin of error is smaller. Now the AI just have to like switch the product and the avatar, right? But we have, what I'm trying to do is we will have enough of these templates where we can basically make any type of scene that we wanted to. It's just now, instead of starting from fresh, we have a database where we can select and we can choose really efficiently what type of scene would fit this product and this brand. Because later on, we're going to have like 500 to 600 of these templates, right? We can't, and we're not just going to like go one by one out of the 500 and select, out of the 500. We need to have some sort of a pre-selection, right? Pre-selection where like, okay, out of the 500, we think like the 5 or the 10 will make a lot more sense to do. So we have that as well. And these two are like the biggest changes where I made in the past 24 hours. And we're seeing a lot better results now, which is going back to manual. And going back to manual before, like last week, when we was doing manually, there was like 20 steps. Now it's 8, right? So it's a lot more less steps, and I'm trying to like, and keep in mind, like it's already like really quick. It is like very efficient. I'm just trying to make it better, okay? And to make these things better, I know this video is like super long, but like what I'm trying to do is because you can't automate every single steps. In the same time is I'm trying to find a balance where maybe this step can be automated to like 50%. And because when you do it, when you do numbers in like millions, right? When you make thousands of these videos per day, even tiny 2 to 3% of the time that the human manual effort that we save, it's big. That means we can produce more videos, right? So it's big. Even just like a 10% cut on per steps, it's a lot, right? So that is what I want to be work on this week, which is cutting more of the, or should I say like A/B test the 8 steps that I have right now, right? Because if you cut down the manual work, the margin of error increases, right? So the operation costs go up, and you sometimes got to do double the work. So you got to find that perfect spot, that perfect balance. And this is something that you just have to A/B test. You got to put in a lot of time to do this, really make it perfect. And I want to say something also, like this is not something that like where like I can implement this to any agency, or I can just sell this to the open market. It doesn't work that way. It's not really like a tool. It's more of a system where that works for all of us that in the organization. It's the same thing with like, look at Batman, right? Batman, you probably think like he's like the most useless superhero because he don't have no power. But like, think about like all the tools that he has, right? Like the Batman, the Shangon, right? The Batman, the star he throw, right? Like, it's not gonna do much for me, right? Because I have a stiff arm. Like, I'm not really good at throwing. Like, yeah, I can have all the technology. I can have his car, but like, I don't have a driver license, right? I get headaches when I'm in a car. Like, it's not gonna do that much for me, right? Like, think about the rope, like the Spider-Man gun that he used to like get to higher grounds and like fly through the city. It's not gonna do much for me because I'm not really acrobatic, and I'm not very flexible, right? I have a very stiff body build. Like, I can't really do that stuff, right? So like, this stuff works really well for our agency, our organization. Not it doesn't just cannot just like implement that to like any other place, and it could just like be phenomenal, right? So again, it's not something that I'm trying to build for public. This is something that I'm building for my agency and in-house only. But in the future, I want to, I guess, like make this into like a structure where you can use this and you could build something similar that fits your organization when it comes to like media production. Okay.